Hey, friends, family, loved ones, Dr. Lance coming from SF today. I had a canceled appointment, and so I had a little gap in my schedule and wanted to take advantage of it. I've had 3 people this morning ask me the same question. It's the most common question I get asked as a chiropractor, and it is, what's the best position to sleep in? And so I've demonstrated this now 3 times today, so I wanted to share it with anybody else that might be wondering. I think it's self-explanatory once you understand the why behind it, because there's not going to be one best position for everybody. I have the thing that I recommend the most because of the variety that it provides. But if you understand that your body's sleep mode is best and deepest and most effective in the recuperation of the traumas you suffer throughout the day, in the immune boost that you get at night, and in all the recycling that happens while you're sleeping when your nervous system is floating. So your brain is up in your skull, it becomes this bunch of spaghetti and goes into your spinal cord. Your spinal cord is actually your brain. Your nerves that come out the sides are your brain. Your nerves and brain are all connected by those little spaghetti cords called nerves. So where your fascia and your bones get kind of twisted up, it starts to put tension and compression on the nervous system, and the body it's not comfortable in that position. So then you'll have to wake up and move positions to the next one. And people who say they can never get comfortable, it's because there's a lot of torquing happening while they're sleeping. There's chemical things involved as well, but when it comes to position and the mechanics of it, I'm going to talk about that. So I have this stack of 5 pillows here. I'm going to use as the bolsters that I pretty much try to create this situation anytime I go anywhere for sleeping. I can sleep on the floor pretty comfortably because I have these pillows that I use to bolster myself. So a little bit of anatomy real quick. If I want to see where my spinal cord and brain are sitting in relative to the rest of my body, I can use my nose and my chin to tell me where my cervical spine is and where the spinal cord is there. So if my nose and chin, cool, you guys can still hear me? Someone called the phone. Okay, so I'm looking at nose, chin, sternum. My sternum tells me where my thoracic spine is, so if my sternum is not vertical, then I know I have lateral flexion. If it's off, then I know I have rotation. So I want nose, sternum, chin, and then nose, chin, sternum. Now I want my pubic bone in the center of my body. And it's not just the pubic bone, but it's the triangle formed by my 2 ASIS bones and my pubic bone, because if my pubic bone is behind those, then I have an anterior tilt. If my pubic bone is in front of those, then I have a reverse tilt, okay, kind of like this stuff. But so I want those on the same plane, and I want my nose, chin, sternum, and that triangle to be on the same plane and midline. So now if I have that, I'm centralized, my spinal cord can be floating in the central canal. And if you don't know this, a lot of the chiropractors out there obviously know this, but a lot of people come to us don't realize that the spine, the purpose of the spine is for the spinal cord to float through and attach to each of the bones of the spine, so that as we move, the spine can move segmentally to allow the spinal cord to still function at its ideal tension state while we move through space. But if we hold altered positions or bad biomechanics for long periods of time, it starts to tether to the spinal cord and bring more tension to certain areas and decreases its function. So if I take this table and these pillows, I'm going to go onto my side. So the first position I usually recommend is side lying. The biggest why for that is that tonight I can be on this side, tomorrow night I can be on this side, and then the next night I can go back and forth. But if I'm on my back, I only have one back. And I would never say, tonight I'm on my back, and tomorrow night I'm on my stomach, because I have to take my nose and my chin and turn it away from my sternum. So now I have torquing happening in my spine. That's not what we want. So I'll go side lying, and now I want to see nose, chin, sternum all in a line, and this pillow, I have to drop my head to get there, so it's too low. Now I have nose and chin that are going off this direction, not lining up here. So I can bring this a little higher, doesn't go higher, I have to supplement. Okay, so now I have a pillow, and now I have nose, chin, sternum, and then I have my pubic bone. I don't want my pubic bone facing the floor. I don't want my pubic bone facing the sky. I don't want my pubic bone facing away from me and having a lot of tilt in my pelvis and arching my back. And I don't want to be so curled up that my pelvis is rocked up underneath me. I want the triangle of my pelvis lined up, nose, chin, pubic triangle, I'll call it, the pelvic triangle. So now I have this arm. My legs can be wherever they are. I have this arm that is usually going to be here and either going off the bed and pulling me this way, or it's here and falling this way, pulling me off. Because as it pulls me, my sternum is going to go to the floor, but my head is stopped here. So I will take a couple pillows and put them here. So now I have my elbow on my side and my hand can rest right at neutral. And this light pressure can allow my wrist to stay at neutral, so I'm not doing funky stuff with my wrist, but it also keeps me from falling forward. And then usually you have a loved one or a stack of pillows or a dog or something behind you to keep you from falling back. And you find that position. The next one is my knees and my hips, because if typically my knees touching over time, this is going to be uncomfortable on the SI joint in the back because my knees are more narrow than my hips are wide. And the wider your hips are, the larger the ratio of hip to knees adducted together. So what I'll do is take a pillow and I'll put that pillow right between my knees. And now my femurs are in a more neutral position relative to where my hips are. If I have really wide hips, then I might want to use 2 pillows. For me, that's a little bit too much abduction. It's a little distracting. That's not what I want. I don't feel like I'm floating in that position. So I get rid of that pillow, and this is me. So this arm can do whatever it wants to do. Typically, you want to have stacked shoulders, because that's nose, chin, sternum, pubic bone. And then I'll allow this arm to come slightly forward just so that my shoulder blade lies flat on the table, and that's the most comfortable position. This is the final position. The last thing I do before I actually rest into sleep is I'll make my micro tuning movements to make this even more comfortable, and it's literally floating. So I will inhale, I'll do a decompression breath if you're familiar with foundation training, or I'll just breathe in a way that lengthens my spine, expands my rib cage, and then I'll imagine myself floating back onto the pillows. So it's, you can see me kind of wiggling into place as big as I can, and then I just, and that final float. Now I'm distributing the weight of my entire body equally to all the surfaces that I've placed in place. My spinal cord can now float in the middle of my central canal with my spine. My brain can start to work on the things that it needs to work on instead of trying to work on protecting my body because I'm torquing myself out. So in this position, I can be sleeping. If all of a sudden these pillows start to fall off and my body starts to go here, I can be in the deepest sleep possible. But this little torquing, still it's just shoulder. Now it's starting to pull on my neck. Now I'm having to fire neck muscles to protect myself. And eventually it's, I'll wake up, I'll have to shift, I'll go to the next position. And now it's just a matter of time before this starts to pull on my lumbar spine. It'll pull, 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 and then I'll have to wake up and reposition myself again. And so it's not often that I'll be in that one position all night long, but that is the position that I want to be practicing the most. Because anything that we practice physically, our body starts to shape itself like that. Every 30 days, we have neurological change. Our body's getting new habits and learning new things. Every 6 weeks, we gain strength and muscular chains that support those new habits. It takes 6 months, though, for us to have connective tissue alterations that now mirror what you've used your nerves and muscles to accomplish for the previous 6 months. So if you start sleeping in positions like this that are more sustainable for you, yes, you might wake up in some god-awful position, but just go back and try to get back into that more neutral position where your spinal cord's floating, and little by little you'll be convincing your body that it's a good idea to be in that position. It might not be as effective at first, but over time you'll get better and better, and you'll learn better, you'll recuperate better, you'll wake up feeling more refreshed. So if you know people that need this information, share the video, do what you gotta do, send them to us at Golden Gate Chiropractic in San Francisco if that's helpful, or just keep asking questions. I think it's good for me to just know what you guys wanna know about, and I'm happy to share when I have a client who cancels on me and I have 10 minutes to just share it, I'll drop it in. So love you guys, hope you have a wonderful day, peace out.